What's good, friendly ghosts? How's everybody doing? It's gonna be a narrating video. Talking over it because my original audio that I recorded for it is just a bit shoddy. It doesn't sound all that great, so I figured why not just go over top of it and tell you guys a little story. Um, a little story about being a young introverted owl. And I told this like once before, a long time ago. I attended high school in a Christian school. A religious Christian school. And it was a very limited school with very limited amount of students in the class, right? I had just came out of a 3.5 years of being homeschooled because my first year in middle school, I got into so much, unforeseeable circumstances, whether it was being privileged kid who tried to pull some stuff on me, and that didn't go too well for him, or whether it was some people trying to play pranks on me, hiding my backpack and whatnot, and I had to deal with that as well, and it ended up with me getting in trouble at the end of the day. It's a long story short. So they started complaining about me in middle school, right? Because I was standing up to the bullies, but I'm the one who ended up getting the bad end of the stick here. So I got sent to homeschool. Well, my mom took me out and put me into homeschool. So in homeschool, I'm like just completely a wreck because not knowing what social anxiety was as a kid, or introvertedness was as a kid, or any of this type of stuff, I was just like in my head like, what is it going to take for me to kind of fit in and be more normal around, and what is it going to take for me? I remember that being like one of my main purposes, my main hopes that I set for myself in elementary. I was like, before I leave school, I'm gonna make one lifelong friend. That was, a lot of kids have their own hopes and dreams for the future. My hope was like, I'm gonna make one friend, one lifelong friend. So when my mom took me out of public school, I was feeling it. I didn't like it at all, but ultimately, it turned out for the best. I ended up learning the most in homeschool than I ever did in public school, with my moms and my sisters teaching me, keeping on me and making sure that I'm staying up to date and whatnot. So anyways, I did my time in homeschool. I went to this Christian religious school, private school, and I came in like about a quarter of the way into the year. Did the work. I was at the top of my class, and I was so excited to finally be back in around other students, other kids my age. I remember at the end of that year, everybody was invited to some celebration at the school. 30 students in the entire school max, right? And they invited me to the celebration to get your diploma from graduating middle school. It's about a 40-minute travel to make it to the school. So instead of being on summer vacation, got dressed up, went to the school, and I'm expecting to get my diploma. So we're waiting at the ceremony, like hours into the ceremony. They're doing all this talking. The two runners of the school is one teacher. She had two daughters, and the principal had a daughter and a son. So they're doing all this gloating and show and tell and all this stuff, and they finally start calling people up, telling how well they did, and the middle schoolers going to get their certificate, to graduate into high school. They call everybody up there, and I'm sitting with my folks, dressed up, waiting for the moment, like this is going to be an achievement for me in my life. And they never called me, right? They invited me to the ceremony. They invited me there, but they did not call my name. And then they just like give a round of applause, and I'm just sitting in the crowd, with my folks, and I'm just like, did I miss my name or what? And I was so disappointed when that happened. And that was it. And so ultimately, that was the wrap up. Everybody went home, shook hands, and I went to the award ceremony for nothing. And we called up and we talked about it, and they said, oh yeah, we'll send you yours in the mail, your certificate. That should have been the first sign for me. That should have been the first sign. So throughout the years, I went to that same school 2 more years. It progressively broke down and got worse. Less and less students started to come. They started seeing more of the nepotism at the school. You know, their students getting privileges other students weren't allowed to get. And worse, in the last year, they started intentionally slowing down other students from getting their work done when the school was going to shut down that year. That was the whole story arc of that year. The school is going to shut down. Get your work done now, because the curriculum is going to be graded differently, and it will transfer over. It's not the regular curriculum, right? So the points that you get towards graduating are going to be different. And that was the whole main thing here, is that we want to get our stuff done here so we don't have to deal with the whole trouble of going elsewhere and then trying to adjust to their new, etc. and etc. The teacher and the principal would prevent us from doing our work, and we have to wait on these 2 teachers to come over and take time out of their day doing whatever they're doing, strolling, to come by us and take our paperworks, take our booklets, and we have to wait for them to score our work for us to continue. Now, the worst thing about it is we had a chapter by chapter basis within our booklets. So at every end of a chapter, we had to stop and let them score. So we couldn't just go ahead and work ahead. If we did, they would actually stop by, like they stopped by my desk, said that you worked ahead, and they erased my work ahead of the chapters. And so it just completely hindered us from actually making the deadline. I remember so vividly being so annoyed and just wondering, why are they doing this to us? But their kids, they were allowed to grade their own work. They were basically allowed to take the answer books home, the whole 9 yard, while they had us on lockdown, literal lockdown. And we have to wait for them. That was the biggest holdup. We have to wait for them to grade our work, just so they can take their time, 30 minutes to get back to us, and then they'll make some corrections and whatnot. Then we have to do the corrections, call them back up, then they have to go and grade it again. And that was the whole 3rd year. I ended up getting fed up with it, and I ended up speaking up about it. I called one teacher out, and she beamed in on me, and she wanted to make my life a living hell from that moment. I was the one student in the Christian school who called a teacher out of her name. Not anything like that, just used a cuss word. I started progressively cussing more and more. And so what happened is, when the school shut down, they got their kids, they graduated, they got them, passed and got their high school graduation and whatnot. They got their credits. When it came to me, I had to get my credits so I can transfer to a different school, to a public school. They transferred 0 of my credits, except for PE. For the 3-year period that I spent at that private Christian school, they only gave me PE credits, and nothing in mathematics, nothing in social studies, nothing in literature, nothing. So the only thing that I could continue with was with a continuation school. So that's how they did me after 3 years of paying $400 tuition per month. That's how they ended up doing me. My reputation in continuation school, no matter where I am typically, whether it's a private school, whether it's a continuation school, even though I'm the quiet one, I'm the one who's like, gentle, I guess, in my opinion. Sometimes I feel like I'm too nice. And that's just because the way people perceive me is they perceive me in the exact opposite way. So on first look, the first things people notice about me, or the first thing that people think about me, is typically, one, what are those scars that he has on him? What are those scars? And number two, what kind of affiliation does he have? You know, what kind of crookedness, what kind of bad behavior, what type of gang, or you know, what kind of track record does he have? You know, those are typically the two things that they think about when they see me on a, you know, just by looking at me. And so I try to make up for that difference. I tried, at least in the past, by being nicer so that people could see that I'm not some sort of troublemaker. I'm not over here, you know, just throwing up gang signs, and you know, I'm not any of that, you know. I mean, sure, I'll stand up when the time calls for it, but I'm not going around trying to make trouble. I got perfect attendance throughout high school. Continuation high school. I got perfect attendance, and I won some awards there. But there, for some reason, there was one principal advisor at the front desk who did not like me. I remember I was on the basketball team and we were trying out, and the first year we had to play out in the sun on the outside court, you know, and it was terrible. From the winds coming in, from the beaming hot sun, it was terrible. But that's how we had to practice. That's where we had to play our games. And then the next year, we won the championship that year. And so we got some credentials. They're like, okay, let's build a actual basketball gym for these students so that they can actually practice, you know, safely and not get a heat stroke while they're playing basketball. I spent my summer that year off and on coming up to the school to try to help build that basketball court, me and a couple of teammates of mine. So during that year where we had a gym, I would go into the basketball gym and try to practice. The principal advisor, this lady, she had it against me so much that she would call me over the megaphone every time I went into the gym and tell me to get out. Okay, that was the first instance. It wasn't basketball season yet, so I was like, okay, maybe once that season comes around, we'll actually be able to use the gym, you know. So okay, cool. Basketball season comes around. Tryouts, practice is all on the horizon. We're in the midst of it. So I'm telling my coach, my PE teacher, simultaneously, if we could go to the gym. She opens the gym for us. I go in the gym. Sometimes for us, sometimes it's for me. I'll go in and get some shots up, practice. Over the intercom, you have to come out, get out of there right now. Blah 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 blah. You know, all of this, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, why can't I practice in a basketball gym? What is it used for? She says, I don't trust you in the gym. He says, you need to be supervised while you're in the gym. I'm like, supervised for what? To play basketball? Of course, throughout this course, Steve was allowing other students, more to her liking, I guess, go into the gym. They weren't basketball players. She was like male student, female student, sometimes a group of them, and she'll open the door for them personally and say, have fun in there. Don't you party too hard. And I was walking by the cafeteria and I hear this bamboozle, like, what? You going to let them in the gym, but I can't practice in the basketball gym? And so I went and I got my PE teacher personally after school. I was like, hey, this lady won't let me practice in the gym, and the basketball season's coming right around the corner. I'm trying to get better. You know, I'm trying to get used to our courts, but she won't let me practice. And so my PE teacher came up to the principal office, the front desk, and she says, yeah, you know the basketball gym, and I'm letting him in the gym. I gave him permission. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, that's fine as long as he has permission. I'm like, this is some shit. course, 30 minutes later, I get called out. I get called out. It's just like she just did not want me to be in the gym. So anyways, fast forwarding, a year later, right? Same stuff. She doesn't let me use the gym at all. Prom is coming up, and that day of prom, I was a friend with the janitor at the school. He would be in the basketball gym, and whenever I was allowed to go in, we would be cool. We would kick it, and we would just chop it up a bit. And I told him the day before, I'll be up here tomorrow to help you out with the decorations and setting up the gym, you know, for prom or the school dance. I think that's what it was. I made a promise to him. The next day, I'm running a bit late to school, still on a perfect attendance. I head into the front desk, check in, and I'm heading to class. Principal advisor lady comes out and she stops me. She says, whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Where do you think you're going? I was like, I'm going to check in the class so I can keep my perfect attendance. Like, that's where I'm going. I got a record going. And she says, no, you're not. He's like, take off that hat. I'm like, what? Hats have never been disallowed. He's like, you're gonna take off that hat. It makes you look gang affiliated. I'm like, what? Gang affiliated? Like, makes me, like, everybody else, these two kids in front of me, they're wearing hats, you know, like they actually in gangs right there. With gang color hats. And she's like, I'm not concerned about them. I'm concerned about you. He makes you look gang affiliated. I'm like, okay. Well, I didn't comb my hair. That's what I'm thinking. I didn't comb my hair today. I rushed and I ran, a mile to get to school. I had to pass a bull and a farmer, and these crazy people, they got a bull in their front yard, and it's this little ass fence in front. I have to run and sneak my way through. It's like, man, I made it in school in one piece. Like, okay, it's like, I'll take my hat off. After I get to class. When I get to class, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, check in first, go to the bathroom, I'll take off my hat, and then I'm gonna tidy up my hair a little bit. I got a little fro going. Let me tidy it up a little bit. So I went to class, checked in, over the intercom. Would you come down to the front gate? Come down here now. So I'm like, okay, she wants me to abide by the law of something. Like, she wants some sort of power over me. I go back down and she keeps on it. You're gonna take off this hat in front of me right now. I'm like, I've been here for 3 years. There's never been a rule against hats. And like, I was going to take it off. Just let me go to the restroom first. He says, no, take it off right here. I want to see you take it off now. And so at this point, I'm young. Of course, when people confront me, I'm gonna give you the same energy right back, right? That's just how I was. I was ready to jump on it back then. So I gave her some pushback. She calls in the principal, new principal, who was just in this year specifically. He comes in. She's like, he won't take off his hat. The principal's like, okay, what's the problem? What's the problem? And she's like, I told him to take it off. He won't take it off. And the principal, he's like, well, you gotta listen to her. You gotta listen to her. Take off the hat. I'm like livid. Like, come on, man. Y'all making up rules on the spot. Come on, man. Like, I was gonna take off my hat, but she's power tripping now. And now it's like, what are you really after? And so it kept going on, and they gave me an ultimatum. You're gonna take off the hat or you're gonna be expelled. I'm like, this is my first offense. My first offense ever at this school. And I'm gonna get expelled for wearing a hat? And he's like, yep, you got a choice. You got a choice. So I'm like, man, you fuck you, blah blah blah, but this, you skanking bleep 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 bleep, you pussy whip mother bleep bleep bleep, dry oasis having bleep bleep bleep. I'm letting off. Fuck you, you ain't gonna kick me out. I'm walking. This shit, fuck this shit. And so that's how I got expelled from high school. I got expelled right then and there for wearing hat. And it wasn't just some gang affiliated hat, it was just a plain black hat with the words LA on it. That was it. It was just a plain black base hat, you know, very basic bitch hat. I got expelled for it. I walked home that day, and I was so disappointed because I wanted to help out the janitor set up the school dance preparations, because I wanted to see what that was like, because I didn't get a middle school dance. I didn't get any of that. I didn't get to graduate from middle school. I just wanted to be part of the fiestas, you know, just once. And it hit me. I realized not only was I going to miss out on graduating middle school, on the middle school dance, but I'm also going to miss out on a high school dance, and I'm also going to miss out on prom, and I'm also going to miss out on my high school graduation. All of these things hit me, and I'm walking home, I'm like, damn, my parents are going to kill me. My mom's going to kill me. And I got home, I was like, hey mom. And she's like, what are you doing here early? I was like, I got kicked out. I thought she was going to whip my ass. I thought she was going to. And she said, well, better enroll in after school programs then. I'm like, okay, sure. That was it. She was oddly calm about it. I was okay. Well, that's the end of that. That's what I'll do. I'm not gonna stir the pot. Hell yeah, I'll go in the after school program. Hell yeah, that's what I'm about. So I go to this after school program. It's not really after school program. It's I don't know what they call it. It's like a side section for, I guess, the bad kids. That's what we called it. The bad kids, the bad students. But the thing is, it's at the same campus. It's literally right next to each other. Like, it's in the same field, the same court. Like, the basketball court to the north is where the classes were that I used to be in, and on the baseline is the after school program. So we're just right there. We're just, you're just right out of bounds. It's right there. The same campus, same everything. And I remember seeing some of my friends at that time, basketball associates at the time, and like, what are you doing over there? Self-proclaimed gang members, at least. I'll say that they're gang members, Bloods. And they're like, what you doing over there? I was like, they kicked me out. I was like, hey, what's happening, pimping? One love. And like, hey, what you doing, man? What if I ain't see you? Like, yeah, man, stay tripping, but whatever. I'm still here, baby. I'm still kicking it. Yeah. And then I go into the class. They didn't give a fuck about you. They did not give a fuck about it. It's a small ass, the little ramp, trailer park looking rooms. It was one of those. They didn't give a fuck about you. They didn't teach anything. You just go into the classroom and all you hear is just the sound of the clock ticking. Nobody talks to you. Nobody speaks to you. You just find a book, sit down, whatever. Might as well have been a library. The worst library ever. Because all they want you to do is read about these old fogies that you don't really give a fuck about. It doesn't really have any effect on your future. I just wasn't feeling it, and I just didn't know what to do. What am I gonna do? What's the purpose of here? So I went there for like 2-3 days maybe, and then I came home. I was like, Mom, I gotta get out of here. I can't do this, man. This class is not for me. This program's not for me. And then we were like, okay, well, we came to an agreement. you're going to get your GED. I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to get my GED. I'm going to graduate before all of these punks. Hell yeah. They trying to kick me out. I'm going to do this shit. So I studied. The GED program is a little bit later. It's like 2 p.m., 3 p.m. to like 6 p.m. Same school, same campus and everything. But this time I didn't see any of the people I used to know. You know, I was just all by myself this time. I went there for about a week, and the entire time, something about being out that late at school just felt weird. I just reflect on life. I just reflect, like, what am I gonna do with myself? Where am I headed? You know, what's my plan? What's my goals? You know, that's the main thing I did, because everything they were talking about is really, it felt so unnecessary to me. And they might as well just been the Charlie Brown characters. Blah 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 blah. That's what they might as well just been doing. And so I would just find myself a bench and I'll just reflect, looking at the skies like, man, what's my next move? I gotta get out of here. I can't be in here. No, I gotta move on. I gotta be fast. I gotta make gains. So I quit the adult program. I went into another program to a different place. I went there for like 2 days. The first day I was there, I was rocking my fro. I had a wild fro. Just wild and everywhere. And I was just like trying to find motivation. And I got busted that first day. I had my earphones in, my earbuds. I didn't know that the earbuds leaked audio. I didn't know. So I got called out and they're like, you turn the music off. I was blasting, fuck the police coming straight from the underground. I was just blasting, fuck the police. I like, oh damn, like, my bad. I didn't know that y'all could hear that. So I went there for like 2 days, you know, messed around for like 2 days, and I was like, man, I can do this. I can handle this. I went home. I studied for like 2 more days. I was like, hey, I'm ready to take this test. This is bring me at it. And that test I took, the day on the test, I remember blasting one song. Right, I'm a big fan of 2 bands. One is Garbage. This is because I played Gran Turismo 1 with Shirley Manson, and the other is Bone Thugs and Harmony. And I was a big Lazy Bone fan of his music at this time. And he came out with a song, and this was called If I Can't Do It, It Can't Be Done. So the morning of the test, the GED test, I'm in the bench, you know, waiting for them to open the door and call us, and it's like 4 of this aspiring graduates in there waiting for the time. Some of them nervous, some of them buckling, some of just tapping, going, you know, anticipating. I'm blasting, if I can't do it, then it can't be done. If I can't do it, it can't be done. I was blasting down. I was getting ready for war. Woo! Like, I'm about to throw some haymakers on this GED test. I went in there, man. I blasted it out the water. I came out feeling confident. Felt so confident. Came in the mail a couple weeks later. I had my certificate. You graduated, or you have your GED. I was so proud. I was so proud. It was like the biggest FU to all the doubters. Everybody who just wrote me off as this or that, bad mouthing me, saying I'm no good. It was the biggest FU, and I celebrated that thing with pride and joy. But then, a couple months later, situations led into situations. I went to the school, the same school, right? Continuation school. I went there after school, after the final bell, and, you know, just I went into the front office. I talked to people, And like, hey, the receptionist is like, hey, how you been? I'm like, hey, yeah, how's it going? You know, I wanted to talk to the art teacher. I forget her name, but I wanted to speak to the art teacher and talk about career advice. So I'm asking about it, like, is he in so I can get some career advice and whatnot, which paths I can take, because I want to be in something art related. I want to know which courses, what direction, what path, what mindset, what should I be expecting. You know, I want to know as much as I can find out. And so they're telling me like they got to check to see if he's in and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm waiting for a bit, and then I asked if I can go to the restroom. They said, sure, go ahead. I go to the restroom in the office. It is flooded and smells. I come out. I was like, nope. I was like, can I go to the office? Can I go to the restroom, you know, on campus, right? So it's like right outside the door. I take my green art book with me. I sit down on the picnic table outside. I go into the restroom, and then as I'm coming out the restroom, there's 5 security guards circling around the bathroom, circling around me as I'm coming down the ramp. And I'm like, what are they doing? Like, are they looking for somebody? Like, did I come at a bad time? And I'm heading down the ramp, and they just start talking to me, you know, with so much aggression. Like, do you belong here? Like, what's your business here? You know, you don't belong here. You know, you gotta go. You gotta leave. And I'm like I have permission. Like, I just spoke to the people in the front office. Like, I'm here, you know, I spoke to them. Like, I came to the school, and I spent 3 years here. My perfect attendance picture is in everybody's classroom. Like, they still have it up. I've seen it. It's in the office. I didn't say that to them, of course, but I was like, yeah, I spoke to them. Like, what's up? What's happening? Like, you gotta leave now. Like, you gotta leave. And they just kept on with this type of aggression towards me, like treating me like this. And I'm like, you know, I'm feeling like I'm some sort of terrorist. You know, like some sort of terroristic threat. The way that they're just ganging up on me and surrounding me like vultures. And so grab my art book on the bench, and I'm walking like let's talk it out with the, you know, people at the front office. And they're like no, we're here to escort you out. And so at this point, I'm 19 years old at the time. You know, I just turned 19. I still got enough juice and enough pushback, so I'm feeling targeted. I'm feeling like I'm being a target. And I don't like that. I don't like that sense of people trying to target in on me. Nobody does. There's not many people who are willing to do anything about it. So I'm taking the situation in at hand. I'm not going to start fighting them. There's 5 people on both sides of me. You know, they're like surrounding me like it's a soul train, walking me down towards the gate. And so I'm getting a bit more confrontational with them with my words. And they're just like, you know, as long as you leave, you gotta go. You don't belong here. You know, so we was talking, and it's ramping up a little bit. Just trash talking, shit talking one another. And it gets to the point we make it to the front gate. Principal advisor comes out, lady. She's a big lady. She's a big lady. I'm just saying, she reminds me of Miss Piggy. That's all I'm saying. Right? She comes out and she says, "You're still here? You're still here? You better get to running because I called the cops." Excuse me? She said, "You better get to running because the cops are on their way and they're after you." And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? You know, and first of all, if I was on my shit back then if I was on my shit, if I was as knowledgeable and had as much wisdom as I do now back then, I would have understood what was happening. She told me, "You better get to running because the cops are on their way and they're after you." That's what the principal advisor told me. Right, this is less than half a year removed from the school. Right, I went to the school, you know, and 2 different programs. I saw them every day still. You know, nothing's happened. You know, nothing's really changed. They got my picture on the wall for perfect attendance. I got kicked out for wearing a cap. And it all comes down to this. You better get to running because I called the cops and they're after you. So at this point in time, I didn't have the knowledge and wisdom that I do now, but I still had that feeling of being targeted and that, you know, I'm not gonna let this shit slide. So I, again, you fat mother, bleep, 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 you Miss Piggy, drive, bleep, 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 F you, bleep, 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 bleep. You know, I just let off. I let off what I can. And, you know, that was it. You know, people came down, a teacher came down, and there's the thing. Black teacher comes down, you know, and I'm thinking like, okay, he's one person who's going to relate to me. He comes down, bald-headed dude. Bald-headed dude looks like Ted from WWE, you know, the dude who always booking, you get a tag team part. He looks exactly like that dude. So he comes down, he never spoken to me before. I tried to get into his class, he's kicked me out multiple times. Didn't want anything to do with me, so now he comes down and he's like trying to father me and shit. I'm like, you acting like you know me, like we were never cool. I tried to get in your class, you kicked me out. Like, don't try to get on it now. Like, what about her? You know, and if I was on my shit, I would have been like, hey, what about this racist bitch right here who called the cops on me for trying to get a better education? Like, what about this hoe right here? And so anyways, it all got settled down. We walked away. I walked away. They locked the gate behind me. like I brought a gun or something to the school. So, and I make it across the street. As soon as I make it to the across the street sidewalk, whoop, cops. I lied to you not. The cop rolled up on me. Not even before the car came to a full stop. The door swung open, and over the top of the door was a gun pointed, and he was on a megaphone with the other hand. Get your hands in the air. The car is not even stopped yet, and this dude is hanging out of the door with a gun pointed over top, yelling at me. I got my lime green art book, and I'm walking with my back turned, and I slowly turn around, try to look, and he says, "Get your hands up in the air! Get up in the air!" And I'm thinking to myself, I'm just having a moment of just extensive time, hyperbolic time is just passing in my head, like, I'm gonna die today. This is where I'm going to die. Right? Like, what did I do to get this response? Like, what did C say to 911 to get this type of response where a gun is drawn on me? What did she say to the police to get this type of response? And I was just like, man, today is going to be my last day alive. And so I had a thought to myself, like, this day is just going from bad to worse to worse to worse. And I'm like, this is all going to end here. And I had a moment like thinking, like, I could try to run for it. I could try to run for it. I could try. I'm fast. I'm still in my youth, in my prime. I know I can make it over a fence or two. I could turn a corner. I know this area like the back of my hand. You know, I could hide behind, go into that bull's yard, and he ain't gonna come into that yard with that bull. Hell no. And I'm thinking, like, I could make that run for it, right? Because there's so much trouble that I don't even know how to comprehend, you know, what is going to happen next. But then another thought came to me, like, you should try to play this like a fucking sage. You should try to play this like a motherfucking genius. Play the people trying to play you. And that was the thought that ended up winning out on both of my shoulders. Get your hand in the air! Don't turn around! Drop everything! Gun pointed at me. And I'm like, okay. I dropped my art book. My geeky drawings came out. I got this like big ass picture of Super Saiyan 3 Goku up front. Like, goddamn, I didn't want nobody to see this. This shit's not polished. Of course, I wasn't thinking that at the moment, but everything spills out on the sidewalk. Of course, people are coming out and looking. I got my hands up in the air. He's got a gun pointing at me. He's yelling at me. People are coming out at the school. They're staring. Nobody's coming to check on the situation. Everybody turned against me. The doors shut. Of course, they closed the gate, but they're still peeping. You know, they just left me to this situation by myself. And, you know, thankfully, I'm telling you this story so you know I'm still alive. Thank God, you know, I'm fortunate enough. But there's so many other people who've been in my situation just, you know, all the same, who weren't as fortunate as I was. And of course, as I've grown older, I've learned more about society and all these type of things. And I've, you know, there's the reason why they call it the school to prison pipeline. There's a good damn reason why they call it that. In my case, it was almost the school to the graveyard pipeline. But yeah, I'm still here. And I remember those words so vividly. You better get to running, because I called the police and they're coming after you. Right? All right. Just because I was trying to get an education, just because I was trying to get some career advice. And you know, that's how my day ended. I spent that day in jail. You know, the entire time the cops are telling me, "Hey, you look like so and so. You look like blah 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 blah." I'm not going to tell y'all who, but yeah. Just try to make do with what you got. Again, the mission is to vibe, survive, and to keep on pushing. So I just wanted to share y'all with that again. You know, I told this once before. I got a couple other stories, but hey. Anyways, I'll bid y'all further ado. May peace be with. Always keep your heads up. Deuces, toast, post, adios, stay cool. If you like this content, be sure to show some love, but always be sure to show that love to the people who matter to you. So ITOwl bidding you farewell, peace, much love, and stay cool. Deuces.